We are at the back end of summer and the cooler months are quickly closing in, as you can see from the barren beds behind me. So today we're going to go through how I'm preparing for the cooler months, what I'm going to start sowing, and what's going on in Bola's backyard. Welcome back to another video in Bola's backyard. Today we are going to get down and dirty with some garden beds and start preparing them to sow for autumn. We've got 2 raised garden beds, we've got 2 beds that currently have no soil in them at all, and we've got 3 ground level beds that we need to start preparing for the colder months. So join me today as we prepare all the beds, see what goes into preparing the beds, and then go through the seed box and see what we're going to start planting for the colder months. So on top of the 7 beds that I just listed, I've got some flower beds that need to be repurposed. I've got the tomatoes that are at the end of their lives and some herbs that I need to plant. So I've got a lot on my plate for this video. I'd better get started. First things first is I'm going to trim back all of this pumpkin plant out of this garden bed. The sweet potatoes can come out. I don't think they're going to go anywhere. And out of that next bed over there that is currently got nothing in it. Everything I'm going to trim back to where pumpkins are growing. I'm going to just cut here. Out here, there's some couple of pumpkins growing a bit too far out. So I'm not going to keep that one. You can see that if you let them go for too long, they grow roots very easily. These roots go straight into the ground, growing everywhere. Look at that. So these are going to get chopped back so I can then get some room in this garden bed here and the garden bed over there. So here we go. Everything that doesn't have a fully forming pumpkin too close to the bed, I'm going to trim it. Off she comes. Next, this one is way too far away from the actual garden. I'm not going to keep any of this stuff. Look, I don't really know if I'm doing it wrong. Please leave a comment down below. I don't want to keep this much pumpkin. There's no fruit even on it except for right out on the end. So I don't really want to keep all of it. It's taken up way too much space. As I've said in a previous video, I'm going to move it way down near the creek, I think. Plant a couple of pumpkins down there. This one here, that's a big pumpkin there. I'll get a close-up of that one. So we'll keep him, chop off the rest. Bang. Do this all the way around, I think. Big pumpkin here. If you look at this garden bed here, see, this is one of the pumpkins that I'll hold on to. I'll try and pick that up and move it back into the garden bed so it's not taking over the grass area. You see this garden bed here, it's been completely taken over. There's a little pumpkin here. I'm going to chop either side of that, throw out the rest. I don't really want to hold on too much of these. There's not many good pumpkins, to be honest. So we're going to trim this all way back. Look at that! I'm sacrificing a lot of potential big pumpkins, but I think I'm gaining a lot more utility out of gaining 2 more garden beds. I can plant a whole new different type of vegetable here and then the other one over there. So the pumpkins, they gotta go. Okay, so we've pulled most of the excess pumpkin leaves out, and I've just gone through and pulled out, I'd say 50% of the tomatoes. I did have it on time lapse, but the camera stuffed up, so that would have been so satisfying to watch in time lapse. But a couple of the plants look like they're a bit dying, so I'm going to probably pull another 3 plants out. There are a lot of green tomatoes on them, so we'll let them ripen up and see if we can get a few more out of here. But most of those tomatoes are going to be gone. I didn't really realize what I was doing, but I've chucked all the tomato cuttings and rubbish into the compost, but a lot of them had fruit fly stings on them, so I'm gonna have to take them out. As I've explained in a previous video, if you leave them out, all the maggots will grow up and fly away and increase the infestation. So I'm gonna have to bag all that up and put it in the compost bin, get it removed from site, probably put it in the trailer and take it to the tip. All right, this is the old corn bed, and we just had some herbs up the front, and even earlier on we had snow peas. So time to clean out the dill and the parsley. Don't worry, I'll get all the tomatoes out of there. They got fruit flies through them. Oh. Might leave one. Beautiful. I absolutely love the change of the season. Refresh the garden, get everything back to bare bones and start again. I have just cleared out 3 ground beds, pretty much cleaned out the tomatoes in this bed right here. I've got pretty well all raised beds, 4 of them, that I can put new soil in and start again. So that's what we're going to do now. Bring in some fresh soil and top up the 4 raised garden beds, and hopefully I've got enough to fill one of the empty garden beds. Now, as you can see, the soil on these garden beds has sunk down a little bit. Now that's because down at the bottom I've got big logs and sleepers and branches just to fill out the raised garden bed without spending too much on all the soil to fill it up with. I even have a layer of not very good soil, topsoil from the yard. If you do yourself a favour and go see Self-Sufficient Me, that's where I got the idea. He goes through in depth how to fill garden beds in economically. So go over there, and that's how I filled these beds. They've got logs underneath, but every year the soil will settle down. So whenever I fully strip it down, every year, I'll top it up with a bunch of soil. I'm going to do that now, top it up with some soil, but it is pretty hot, so I might not sow any seeds today. It's still very, very hot, still in summer. Right, here we are, the local soil shop with my little man. Getting a couple of scoops of soil. Just a quick little hack. Well, I don't really know if it's a hack, but it helps me out a lot. When you go and pick up soil or anything like that in the back of your ute, put a tarp down first. So when you're at the end of it like this, it's not getting stuck all in the cracks or anything like that. You have to get up and sweep it out. And when it's getting low, you don't have to struggle shoveling it all out. Just grab the back of it, lift it up from the sides, creates a good mound. And then when you get to the very end, pull the tarp out. Like that, and Bob's your uncle. So much easier. That easy. This is about as much as I'm going to fill up these beds. I don't know, 150, 200 mil from the top, because then once I sow some plants in there, put some mulch on top, it'll then come up a lot higher. So I don't need to fill it up any higher than that. I'm going to put some gentle organic fertilizer in here, but that's about it. I do have my own compost. Perfect world, I'd have 2 or 3 different composts where I could rotate them through, but at the moment I've only got one. So it takes me a good 18 months to have a good batch of compost, but this is as much as I'm going to fill it up for now. And let's go and have a look at the seed box to see what I'm going to sow. But as I said, probably not going to sow today. It's still very hot. All right, we have successfully prepared most of the garden beds that we have available for the autumn months. It is still very, very hot, so I'm not going to plant any seeds today. There are plenty. Look, when you come out of the heat of the summer and you're coming into the much more mediocre seasons like autumn and spring, everything's fair game. You get the lettuces, carrots, cabbages, broccolis, cauliflowers, onions go back in. So I got seeds coming out of my proverbial. So I got also my father handed me a bucket full of seeds as well. We're done for the day. I'm going to put a little bit of organic fertilizer in there, and that's about it. I'll leave it for maybe a week or 2 because it's still very hot. And then we will get cracking with some autumn seeding. But thanks for joining me on this episode. We've prepped all the garden beds. Thank you for coming along with me and working with me. Get down there, like and subscribe, and join me on the next video. Bowler's Backyard. Cheers. Oh, I love summer.